I'm just a dude. No, I'm a San Franciscan. I've been here for almost 25 years. This is my home, and I love the city. There's like a line, there's Stuart Shuffman and Broke-Ass Stuart. There's a line, I don't know where it is. So which one's your question? It's funny. I got into this to be like an art dude, and now I'm like a business dude in a terrible business. I barely write anymore, unfortunately. Although I had a book just come out a couple months ago, and it's called The Worst of Broke-Ass Stuart, and it's a collection of all my best work for the past 2 decades or whatever. But I'm not writing as much as I'd like to be, because we're running Broke-Ass Stuart, myself, my business partner Alex, and we run this thing full time. And so it's a lot. It's a lot. It costs almost $20,000 a month to keep the thing afloat. So it's a lot of trying to find that money. We work so we can pay the writers and editors and everything like that. It's a terrible way to make a living, but it's a good way to make a life. It's an arts and culture website, but we're more than that. We're involved with activism. And basically, it's like an all weekly that used to be like the SFA Guardian or the Village Voice. We're modern, we're here, we're online, and you come to us because you want to know what's happening in the city, and a lot of that has to do with activism and fighting back against the bullshit that's happening. Brokeassstuart.com, or it's like Broke-Ass Stuart on Instagram and all the other things. There's a lot of things you can do in activism. Some people, their role is to fight the cops. Some people's role is to help clean up the people who fight the cops. There's a lot of different roles. Our role is to help get the word out about shit. If you want to get involved in activism, start small, start in your neighborhood, and be like, what's going on? And then this is a 21st century. Everyone's got a voice now, and so find out who's using their voice for good and try to get involved with whatever they're doing. Whether it's a local, even it's something like a local Democratic club, to your local neighborhood, community benefit district, or just the homies in the corner who give a shit. Anything, all that. Get involved. There's a lot of noise right now. It's still important to do that. And I think that's the first step. Get involved locally, combined with using your voice. You might be able to make this much change, and that's all. If any of us can make this much change, we've done something. I'm on the internet too much, for better or for worse, honestly. I also read a lot, although my reading generally has not to do with. I read a lot of historical stuff, so I'm staying informed in that way. My wife is the internet maven, so she keeps me informed too. But just the same things we're all doing. Spending too much time online, reading too much news. The internet's really good at letting you sympathize with someone you'll never meet, but also at the same time make you hate someone you barely know. And so I think we should kind of flip that and be like, you should really try to get to know the people that you barely know. San Francisco is wonderful, but I wouldn't kind of come across that many different modes of thought. We all kind of agree on most of the same things, So I like to try to find people who I don't even know what they're talking about sometimes, or going to agree with them and see from there how we can find bridges. And the internet is terrible for that, cutting out the humanity part of it, And so getting to meet people who you don't know and you don't know anything about and you may not agree with is so good for you, because it lets you to think differently and maybe learn who they are and where they're coming from. 2026, this city's great. It's it's a city, it's a boom and bust town, and we've gone through a little bust recently, which is always the most fun for those of us who are lifers. That's when the good shit happens. And there's a new boom happening. We'll see how long that lasts. This boom's a little different because it's really threatening to take jobs away, not just from here, but from the whole world, this whole AI thing. And we're in a weird place with AI, because the way I say it is we're in the place where the Wright brothers got off the ground for 15 seconds. That's where we are with AI. This thing is going to change the world as we know it already really is. And it's probably not going to be good. We're going to lose a lot of jobs. I mean, there's a few assholes at the top who are so the smarter people who are just well, maybe we need people to have jobs so they can buy the bullshit that we make. So, I mean, that's a longer conversation, but the city's changed immensely. But, there's this thing, years ago, there was that movie from the 1960s, In the Summer, where the guys, they go around to different surf spots all over the world. And I remember the scene that stuck with me. They're like, yeah, everywhere we go, someone says, you should have been here yesterday. And it's kind of reminds me of my buddy John Law, who's really the most interesting man in the world. He helped start Burning Man and SeneCon and so many things. He's when he got here in the 70s, everyone's like, man, you should have been here in the 60s. So I'm an old guy now. I'm 45, and I'm you should have been here, in 2000s. But there's still really great things happening here. There always will be. It's not always the same things that were happening before. I don't think it's as funky and weird as it used to be. A lot of the artists have been pushed out. A lot of the working class people have been pushed out. But then those of us like me, I'm a cockroach. You can't get rid of me that easily. So, so yeah, I mean, we're still here. We're still keeping it weird. And then the city embraces that, which is pretty good. Well, Spotify had such a stranglehold for so long. They were able to beat out the competition a decade ago, right? But now there's more alternatives to it, and we don't need them. There's so many other things. And first of all, fuck them. They pay artists terribly. They take money from ICE, and they invest in terrible shit. And so why when there's other options? So I moved over to Qobuz, and it's been great so far. The music quality is better. There's some intermediary service, and I'm able to just transfer my playlist over real easy. It took 10 minutes. I mean, out of the thousands of songs, I don't know, maybe 3,000-4,000 songs on my playlist, I think maybe 70 didn't go over. So fuck it, that's fine. It's a music platform that's growing, and first of all, it's independent. Support the people who you want to be supported by. Support the people who you give a shit about, and fuck the corporations. Oh, there's so many. It's look, am I going to jail for this? No, fuck it. If I get caught, am I hurting anybody? No, fuck it. There's so many fake rules, especially things that are just about respectability and shit like that. Fuck it. When I first saw fake rules, I was like, yep, that I love that. Hold on. Yeah. Sick. Take that, Thrasher. I love Thrasher, actually. That's very cool. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. That's so cool.